Elements are tokens in Java. First one, keywords, identifiers, literals, operators, separators, comments. All these are comes under elements are tokens in Java. The first one, keywords in Java. Keywords are reserved words which has a special meaning. Those keywords cannot be used as a variable name or any class name or any object name which has a specific meaning which cannot be used for any name. So we have totally 48 keywords in Java. Okay. Next, identifiers in Java. Identifiers are used for name of the any variable or any object name or any class name, which is used for identification. We have some rules for identifiers. So the first rule is we have to define an identifier with capital A to Z or small a to Z or with underscore or dollar signs. We can define the identifier with capital A to Z or small a to Z. So we cannot use any special characters like at the rate, slash, all these things, characters. Okay, we can use dollar sign or underscore. Next point, so we cannot give space in between the identifiers. Okay, and the identifier name should not start with a number. All these are the rules for identifiers. So while we are declaring an identifier, we have to follow some rules. The first rule is we can give an identifier name with capital A to Z or small a to Z or with a number from 0 to 9, or we can use underscore or dollar sign. But we cannot give a space in between the identifier, and the identifier name should not start with number. So these are the rules for identifiers. Next, literals in Java. So what are literals? Literals are constant values which appears directly in the program. So if you define int a equal to 1, which one is literal here? Int a equal to 1. 1 is a literal. Int is a data type. A is a variable. So here we are declaring integer literal int a equal to 1. 1 is a integer literal. Suppose float b equal to 1.5. So 1.5 is a floating point literal. Like that, if you define any char c equal to some character with single quotes, within single quotes, if you define any character, that is character literals. Like that, we have string literal. If you define with double quotes, it is string literal. Boolean means true or false. All these are comes under literals in Java. Next, operators in Java. We have total 8 operators. Operators means which perform some specific operation. So the first one is arithmetic operators, relational operators, bitwise, logical and operators, relational operators, ternary operators. All these are operators which perform some specific operations. Next, separators in Java. So the curly braces are used for to represent a block of code. And next, parentheses used to define a method. Okay. Next, square brackets are used for defining an array. If you are using a square bracket, it means you are defining an array. Next, semicolon. Semicolon is used at the end of a statement. Next, comma is used in between the arguments to separate arguments. Next, dot. Dot is used for calling in methods or objects. Next, colon. Colon is used in for each loop. All these are separators in Java. Next, comments in Java. Comments are helps to improve the readability of our Java program. If you define for every code line of, if you define with comment, we can easily understand our Java program. So we have 3 types of comments: single line, multi-line, and documentation line. So single line comments is represented with double slash, multi-line comments indicated with slash star, and multiple lines with end with star slash. Next, documentation line. If you want to define entire program in terms of documentation, if you want to create any document for our program, So we will use slash, double star and end with star slash. These are comments in Java. Next, statements in Java. You know already, right? There are three types. Control statements. Control statements are classified into three types: conditional, iteration, or jump statements. So in conditional, we have if else, nested if. All this comes under conditional statements or decision making statements. Next one, iteration statements are loop statements. So in iteration, we have for, while, do while, for each also. Next, jump statements. In jump statements, we have break and continue. All these are statements in Java.